Okay. All right. Let's talk about what it feels like to finally start setting boundaries, having boundaries, sticking to those boundaries when, for most of your life, you've been a people pleaser. Because it's quite the journey and experience that you're going to go through getting used to setting boundaries when this isn't something that you learn how to do, but you had to like teach yourself how to do it, and you had to allow yourself to be okay with setting boundaries. So, if you're anything like me, I've been people pleasing since I was a small child. When it came to my parents, when it came to the grades I got, when it came to being the good girl, the good kid out of my five siblings. And as you can imagine, like this is, I feel like that's a heavy weight to put on yourself, especially as a kid, to try to please everybody, to try to get everything right, to try to never do wrong, and to just be perfect. So nobody taught me that I had to be that way, of course, but I equated me being lovable and me feeling like I was good enough with how much I could please my parents, my siblings, friends, the people around me, teachers, and how much I could get their approval and be validated. So as you can imagine, this is, well, now hindsight 2020, I realize that that's not a way to truly live your life for yourself, and it keeps you constantly seeking validation and approval from other people when inside your heart you know what you would prefer to be doing, but you decide to people please or not have boundaries just to keep the peace or just to be accepted. It's a huge ant. I hope it don't come near me. So since I started my healing journey, specifically in the last several years, I've really been just into learning how to set boundaries, learning how to speak up for myself in situations that might be uncomfortable, learning how to speak up to myself when it comes to family, friends, like all types of situations. And I feel like it's an emotional roller coaster that you go through when you first start that journey specifically, and like while you're getting used to getting comfortable with that. And so I wanted to talk about what that like looks and feels like in this video. So if you are like a recovering people pleaser, recovering perfectionist, and you know that like you can relate to some of the things that I've mentioned in this video, then I just want to have a little chit chat with you, because even though it's uncomfortable and it can be scary, it can be awkward to learn how to set boundaries and to stop people pleasing and to really speak up for yourself. The person that you become on the other side of that is just is a beautiful journey to witness, to feel, and to really take pride in. So um as you first start to learn to set boundaries, you first start to learn to, I see a shadow but I don't see a bug. As you learn how to, if you don't know, well, you won't notice about me, but I like being out in nature, but I don't like bugs. So that's what it is. But as you're going on that journey of learning how to set boundaries and all that, you're going to come across people who don't like that. Like, especially people who are close to you, who aren't used to you setting boundaries, who aren't used to you speaking up, and who are used to you people pleasing and just doing things their way. They not going they're not gonna like you starting to speak up and come out of that role, because they're so used to you being in that role, especially when you've been in that role for most of your life. But that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong, and it doesn't mean that you need to to not do that, like to not learn how to set boundaries and all that. But it does mean that you're gonna have to get comfortable with letting people down. You're gonna have to get comfortable with allowing people to perceive you in a certain way even though you know you're not that way. Like people might perceive you as a B word or as mean or as selfish, but at the end of the day, that has everything to do with their ability to receive a no or to receive a boundary. And they're just projecting their inability to receive that onto you, especially because they're so used to you just going with the flow, just saying yes, just being a yes man, a people pleaser, a yes woman, and a people pleaser. So I'm thinking about a couple times, like just with family in general, but a couple, what's coming to my mind is a couple times that I've set boundaries with my mom um, around like my time. And oh my gosh, that's weird. And she didn't take it well, and she was upset for a few days on both occasions. But I knew in my heart that it was the best decision for me on both occasions. So she even called me mean, right? So what happens in your head, like when you are used to people pleasing and people try, like they call you mean or they try to like guilt trip you into, well, not guilt trip you. Well, yeah, maybe some people have the intention of guilt tripping. But when people think that you're mean because you decided to say no or you set a boundary or they try to guilt trip you into changing your mind, when you are recovering from people pleasing, this can feel like extremely uncomfortable. It can feel awkward. It can feel like you did something wrong. It can feel like you are letting people down. I mean, you might be letting people down, but what I learned is that those feelings will pass, not only for them, but for you too. So when you are in a situation, you're learning how to set your boundaries, you're saying no to people, you're maintaining those boundaries. You just have to stay true to you, because it's one thing to let other people down, but if you consistently decide to ignore your own boundaries, your own no's, and you just people please just for the sake of people pleasing and do things just because you feel bad about saying no, you're going to start to build resentment up towards yourself. You're going to start to feel let down by you versus allowing other people to feel let down for a moment or for some days or however long it takes for them to come around and to accept your boundary or not accept your boundary. Like some people aren't going to accept your boundaries too. So it's just been an interesting journey to witness, and it's also been interesting, like when you're going on this journey, you also got to check yourself when it comes to other people setting boundaries and not people pleasing towards you. Because I had to check myself um, when it came to this with a situation with my brother, and just remind myself like everybody has the right to say no. Everybody has the right to give and to maintain a boundary, and it's all about how we receive it. And we don't have to like give a boundary in like a mean or nasty or rude way, but I really feel like it's so important for us to, number one, determine what our boundaries are going to be, especially when you have a history, like a long history of people pleasing, and to make sure you like are consistent in that boundary. Oh my gosh, the bug just jumped up. This is me. This is the real me. Um, oh my goodness. Whew. So you have to get you have to get used to receiving boundaries and being okay with other people telling you no as well. So whew, yeah, it's just this is a cool journey because you can give other people boundaries all day and tell other people no all day, but like how do you receive boundaries? How do you receive no's? And it's okay for you to feel like your emotions when you do receive a no, you do receive a boundary, but it's really all about like coming back to yourself and realizing that their boundary just like your boundary isn't is more so about you than it is about them. Like their boundary is more so about them than it is about you a lot of times. Um, and I heard somebody say that boundaries teach people how to grow with us, and I loved that perspective because I really do feel like boundaries are a lot about us, like the person setting the boundary, and teaching other people how to like interact with us in the best way. So yeah, it can feel uncomfortable to set boundaries, to say no, but I feel like it's really necessary in order to have healthy relationships, healthy communication, and just to set certain standards and expectations when it comes to other people and how they can best interact with you. Um, so they're extremely necessary. And even though they feel uncomfortable at first, they feel uncomfortable in the moment sometimes. The feeling that you feel on the other side of setting that boundary is just a feeling that you're gonna have to feel for yourself and see for yourself because you you just feel like this. We about to wrap this up, but you feel like this sense of pride and this sense of accomplishment, or you just feel good about yourself that you actually supported yourself in that way, even though it might have been uncomfortable or awkward. So if you are a recovering people pleaser, if you learn how to set boundaries, how to stick with those boundaries, how to maintain those boundaries, how to not let other people guilt trip you into changing your mind or like saying yes when you really want to say no, keep going. You got this, and you're on the right track. You're on the right path. Even if it feels weird or uncomfortable, just know that it'll get easier. It'll get better. But that's all I got to say about this topic for now. And I'm going to see you in the next one. Peace out.